These are the deadliest weapons from every time period. Starting with the Stone Age.
Stone Age. The options for killing each other weren't quite as exciting as they are today. For most of the Stone Age, your best weapon was just that, a stone. They were surprisingly effective. Just one hard hit with a rock is more than enough to crack a human skull.
Yo,
bro.
What did he do to deserve that?
From a distance either. Thunk. Eventually, someone had the brilliant idea to put a sharpened stone on the end of a stick and call it a spear. Then, some 70,000 years ago, one guy was like, man, I hate that guy over there, but he's too far away to stab him with a spear or even throw a rock at him.
A bow and arrow. Knew it.
Do you guys think that's how it actually happened? Like, there was just one person tens of thousands of years ago that just had a cool idea. They were just like, hey, we're gonna put stone on top of stick, and that's gonna be a spear.
Yeah, someone had to do it.
Well, how else would that have happened? Like, what is the other alternative? That aliens came down and gave them spears?
It was like a whole group of people that like kind of worked together and they collaborated, or was it just like one dude? He was sitting by himself. He just took a poop and he was like, hey, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna put this on top of this.
You're acting like creating a spear is like building a tank.
Back then it was. That was the equivalent of building a tank.
Bro, it's a stick with the rock on the end. It doesn't take 50 people to hypothesize and theorize and come up with a spear.
Not today, but back then it could have.
I honestly think what happened was there was a stick and they're like, oh, when I poke somebody, it doesn't kill them. Let me make it sharper. Then now there's a stick with a pointy end. Now they're stabbing people, but they're like, oh, the pointy end, it's getting dull after a while after I'm stabbing things. Let me add something that doesn't get dull after I stab it. A stone. It's simple problem solution. That's what humans do. That's why we're not monkeys.
That's a great point, Jack. You should have just asked Adam instantly, because he's the closest we got to a caveman.
I'm half caveman.
Guys.
I can figure this stuff out right now if you put me in the jungle after a couple weeks. The bow and arrow one's pretty tricky.
Ha! You missed.
Oh.
Simple weapons like these were literally all that we had for most of our history as a species. But as civilizations around the world expanded, weapons were forced to become more advanced. The Bronze Age. Take, for example, the macuahuitl, an ancient weapon used by the Aztec civilization in Central America. This weapon combined the best parts of a wooden club and a dozen small daggers, with sharp obsidian blades on the sides that were there just to make sure the Aztecs' enemies could never survive the wounds this weapon inflicted. Though we all know how that ended up going. A less effective melee weapon with a much cooler story is the trident. It was primarily used for fishing. How exciting. But it also got some action in the Roman Colosseum as the primary weapon of a type of gladiator called a retiarius. A retiarius was traditionally equipped with a trident, a small dagger, and a fishing net, and they would have little to no armor or even clothing. They'd be pitted against fighters with much more armor than them and use their speed and agility to dodge their enemies' attacks and try to tangle them in their net, while simultaneously trying to stab them with their trident.
I would be that guy. I would be the fisherman dude with the trident. I feel like I could kill people like that.
You're speedy compared to us.
Yeah, I would just get a full knight's armor, and then you can't do anything against me, and then I'll grab your little teeny tiny spear and snap it over my knee.
Can't catch me.
He'll dodge it.
Shove it in your butt.
Can't catch me. No, I'll capture you with my net, and then I'll stab you.
The net is the wild card. He'd throw the net on you, then you're trying to take off the net. Neck exposed. Bink. Gotcha.
Boom.
Well, the thing with spears, I feel like they're pretty easy to grab. It's not like a sword. Like, you can't just grab a sword or you'll cut your hand up. But a spear is like, you know, they go like that, and then you 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 snap it over your knee.
While you're busy doing that, I pull out my mini spear, and then I stab you with that.
But then I'll pull out my mini hand, and then I'll grab your mini spear. And then
Alex forgetting about the net. That's over top of his head.
Yeah, I captured you, Alec.
I'm not a Pokemon. You can't just capture a person.
Yes, I can.
Fine. Well, while I'm captured, I'll pass some gas, and then no one can get near me within 10 feet for 30 seconds.
You know we lost when he's
You
passed
guys
the
have
gas.
been in the kitchen with me before. You understand.
The trident typically only left small, non-fatal wounds so as to make the fight last longer for the entertainment of the audience.
Oh my gosh.
In any case, the most prevalent weapons in use during the Bronze Age had to have been slings, swords and spears of various types, including the Egyptian khopesh, as well as the shield. While useful in hand-to-hand combat, they were even better when used in an army formation, such as the phalanx. Every soldier stood shoulder to shoulder as they advanced, completely unstoppable. These sorts of weapons were all well and good for fights between individuals or armies, but less effective at taking on the well-fortified castles common to the next period, the Middle Ages.
This is where they're gonna invent the ladder.
Is that a weapon?
No, yeah, Adam. What actually was that? What was that? What do you
Maybe.
mean
Okay, wait.
It's just because you can't climb up ladders doesn't mean that they were the most dangerous thing ever created. I think that this is gonna be like catapult.
Oh, yeah.
Thinking catapult?
Are they gonna invent firearms yet? Gunpowder?
No.
What do you? Oh my gosh! No, you're not. No, please.
That was later on. They invented that in China. Yeah, we're not quite there yet.
Please say, my name is Adam Beck, and I was just kidding about that comment. Wow.
Necessity
That's
is the
so
mother
embarrassing.
of invention. And when the necessity is breaking into a palace and mercilessly slaughtering all your enemies, the inventions are siege weapons. Huge machines usually operated by multiple soldiers that were great at tearing down the dreams of kings. There were so many types of siege weapons that I can't cover them all in this one video, so I'll just go over my favorites. The siege hook was a large device that could be used to literally just pull a wall down by grabbing it and yanking it away. Effective and very
Ladder
simple.
can't do
4
that.
stars. The trebuchet was a device invented in
Ladder don't need to do
China.
that.
Larger and more deadly than a catapult, it could throw a stone
Trebuchet.
weighing
That's what I was
200
trying to think
pounds
of.
to a distance of up to 275 meters.
Whoa,
3
that's
football
cool.
Fields. Very terrifying.
That is
5
awesome.
stars. The ballista.
The problem with the trebuchet, though, is it's very difficult to move. And so if you're an army that has to move like 100 miles to the next closest village to take it down, it's tough to move an entire trebuchet there. So it slows down the entire army in its journey to get there.
I thought that they just like broke them apart and then built them outside before a siege.
That's right. They do that as well. But now it takes them like hours and hours, sometimes a whole day to build a trebuchet. And that puts them in a vulnerable position. And they're not able to use their intuition.
It's a great point, Alec.
Giant, really destructive crossbow. The crossbow is already cool, and making it bigger is a good idea in my eyes. 5 stars.
Bow and arrow,
The
but
battering
big.
ram was a log held by a bunch of soldiers that they would
Bink,
use
bink,
to repeatedly
bink,
hit walls and
bink,
gates until
bink.
it
Bigger
broke.
stick.
How can you even
Knock,
call this a
knock.
weapon? It may have been effective,
Hello,
but
is
consider
anybody
how
home?
annoying it would have been to use. Imagine the splinters in your skin, the smell of wood irritating your eyes, and
Ew.
the pain if you all
What?
dropped it on your poor little toes.
Ew.
0 stars. My channel is still small
0
enough that I can easily
stars?
read and reply to every comment I get, so please, let me know your favorite siege weapon in the comments.
Ooh, guys, what's your favorite siege weapon?
I'm sticking with the ladder. I know you didn't mention it, but that one changed wars. Nobody's climbing up, nobody's climbing down without a ladder.
What?
It's the world's greatest invention.
I think my favorite one, maybe it wasn't like a siege weapon, but it was used to defend against sieges. It was the fire arrow. They would have fire set up. They would dip their arrows into a little bit of oil, set it on fire, release, and then it would rain fire on the enemies.
That is a good one. I like a trebuchet.
The one you said was mid and trash?
No, well, it has its flaws, but every good girl has its flaws.
So weird. This guy's
While
so weird.
technologies like this made armies more formidable on land, other civilizations were busy developing weapons to fight their enemies approaching from the sea.
A boat!
Introducing Greek fire. This was a sticky
Wildfire.
mixture that could be ignited and burned for hours, even
No,
when
it's
placed
Greek
on
fire.
water,
Whoa.
making it incredibly dangerous for your average
Did they invent a
seafaring
dragon?
warmonger. Roman sailors would spray this flaming mixture onto their enemies' ships through tubes, or load it into hand grenades before tossing them aboard their opponents' vessels. Greek fire was so effective that the Byzantine Empire couldn't afford to let their enemies discover the recipe to create it, and so it became a closely guarded secret. Even today, we don't know exactly how it was manufactured, but it's generally believed to be similar to a modern flammable liquid called napalm. We've come to a point in history where we
Guys, do you guys think that the first people that have created these new technologies, they were the ones that won every battle, right? Like the first people to create a trebuchet, they probably didn't lose for a very long time. Same with like the napalms and everything like that. Like whoever creates it first, the upgrade probably won almost every single battle.
That's how it goes. We see that in recent times with the nuke.
I think Genghis Khan, who was the greatest conqueror of all time, really popularized the idea of going into war on horseback. And so he used horses as a main part of his army and had a huge advantage over all of his enemies. And that's a good point. Whenever you invent a trebuchet or a blooply blop, you have an advantage over your enemy. And if it didn't work, we wouldn't know about it today.
It's true. The winners of of the battles write the history about the battles.
Whoever was a ladder civilization got wiped out pretty early.
Yep, everybody was going up the ladders, and then they would get giant rocks dropped on them as they were climbing.
You are the last of the ladder people, Adam.
Stay strong.
You need to invent a new type of a ladder.
Climb.
History where we can begin to discuss the invention of the weapon that fundamentally altered how wars were fought.
Guns, guns,
and changed
gun,
our existence
gun,
as a
gun,
species forever.
gun.
This weapon is the gun.
Yeah.
Look!
America.
Pew, 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 pew,
America.
pew. Leave a like on today's video now! Do it now!
Modern guns are unreasonably effective at killing people. Just ask any American third grader, they'll tell you. In the
Oh
year
gosh,
950,
that's
the ancient
crazy.
Chinese decided to put a tube of gunpowder on the end of a traditional spear. When ignited, the
firework.
tube would spray
Rocket
fire
spear.
from one end at the
Whoa.
attacker's victim.
Okay, that's
Eventually,
way
they
better
added
than a gun.
debris and
That's
pellets
so
to
cool.
gunpowder, which would also be ejected from the tube.
Ouch.
This is the fire lance.
That's like a
It's
shotgun.
basically a spear, a flamethrower, and the world's first gun, all in one
How are
weapon.
people not using this
Personally,
today?
I would
I
hate
want
to
one.
be on the receiving end of this thing.
I know what I'm getting
This
for
time-
Christmas.
What's crazy is still today, we kind of, whoa, that's, no, Jack, no,
No.
bad boy, down.
Adam, you can have a ladder, and I'll have the rocket spear.
What's crazy is still to this day, people are not, military people still use kind of the same thing because they'll attach a knife to the end of their gun, and that's called
A bayonet.
bayonet. Yes, Adam, nice.
Stab, 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 stab.
So,
I don't know, guys. I have this chicken. This is my favorite weapon to ever use, ever.
Jack has never won a fight.
Do you want to see how it works?
Sure.
Yes. See, this is when the other guy just starts walking away slowly and just assumes that Jack has some serious problems.
Yeah.
That's like,
Never lost
This
battle
time
yet.
period is for a new level of innovation and cruelty in the creation of weapons.
Fireworks.
The goal was no longer just to kill your enemies, it was to do it in the quickest, most destructive way possible, causing unimaginable pain and suffering so that anyone else
my
would
gosh.
be too scared to fight you. As history shows, this sort of thing would only get worse. World Wars. World War I completely changed how our species approached violent conflict. The Industrial Revolution had just concluded a few decades ago, and humanity had so many new technologies to try out for the purpose of killing. The soldiers of the First World War saw huge advancements in machine guns and grenades, as well as the invention of tanks and warplanes, which took the fighting to
Dang,
the skies.
we are-
But these are not the most horrifying
The
weapons.
progression is going right now. They just went from throwing sticks at each other to that. That's insane.
Did you guys know that the first ever tank that was ever invented for the World War was called Little Willie?
so should I call mine Tank?
You're what? You have a tank?
What?
Wait, hold on, I might have got that confused, I don't know.
Was used during this time. No, not by a long shot. Imagine you're a soldier in the trenches. You haven't seen any action for a few days now.
Why is he smiling?
And you and your fellow combatants are relaxed. You take turns keeping watch, but there's been no enemy activity
Oh,
to
grenade.
report.
Grenade.
Suddenly,
No, it's
however,
the tank.
your watchman calls for your attention.
Grenade.
An
That's a
enormous
grenade.
cloud of
That's a tank.
yellowish
Poisonous
brown
gas.
smoke is on the horizon, being blown towards you
No,
by
it's
the
the
wind
dust
at an
from the
alarming
tanks.
speed. You're
No,
a
it's
trained
poisonous
fighter,
gas.
so normally you wouldn't be scared, but in this case, there is no enemy
Gas
to
warfare.
shoot at.
Gas
Your
warfare.
only chance is to run from this
This
new
killed
horror.
thousands of people.
And run you do. It's not enough. You are enveloped by the gas completely, and your skin begins to blister
Yep.
as your eyes swell
Oh!
shut. Breathing becomes excruciatingly
Dang.
painful, and you are screaming. So are your fellow soldiers, shocked and disoriented.
Oh, that's pretty sad.
If any
This
of
is
you
the
sounds
worst
like
one.
the
get out of
bathroom
this
after
cloud
I
of
use it.
mustard gas, you could remain alive, suffering the effects for weeks. Swollen lungs, blistered skin, vomiting, and blindness.
Dang.
Before you finally succumb to death. Gas
Dogs.
attacks of many varieties were used by both sides in World War I, but none were quite so horrifying as mustard gas. Eventually, international treaty laws would ban the
Banned.
use of toxic gas in combat, as the effects
Yeah,
were
that's-
seen
that's
as
too bad.
inhumane. In a war that took the lives of 20 million people, that
Oh my
is saying
gosh.
something. World War I was truly the war to end all wars, until it wasn't anymore, when a
Yeah,
certain Austrian
lasted like
patriot
20 years.
decided he
Sequel.
wanted to do some pretty terrible things. Poisonous gases were still used, of course, though in slightly different contexts.
Dang.
Like any other war, World War II started, it was fought for a while, countless people died screaming, and then it was over. The way this war concluded, however, is fundamentally different from any other war fought before or since. Here is the story of the final weapon.
the greatest, most powerful weapon of all time.
The nuke! The World Destroyer.
The Allies and the Axis powers were in an arms race. Both of them were trying to use recently discovered nuclear technology in order to make a bomb. The final bomb. A bomb so big and destructive the other side of the war would have no choice but to surrender.
Oh my
When an
gosh.
element known as uranium-235 is compressed sufficiently, it triggers an atomic chain reaction, creating exponential amounts of energy, and thus an enormous explosion. The American...
Obviously, this is terrible, right? We can all
Yeah.
agree on that.
Where's this going?
It's like a glitch in the Matrix.
The weird thing about wars and battle nowadays, as I mean, even back then too, during the other ages, is that it really does spur scientific and mathematical ideas, right? They're creating new things. Alec, why do you always build down my thing to one thing? No, I'm not saying world war is good, idiot.
Wait, are you saying world is bad?
War is bad. However, there are a lot of technological advancements that are made from wars because everything stops. All of the money goes into how do we win this war and how do we make better technology in order to win the war, because weapons are technology at the end of the day. It's like, for instance, the first computer ever invented was created to bust Nazi codes. To be code breakers.
Shout out to Alan Turing.
Which is crazy, because the computers maybe never would have been invented if not World War II, right?
That's true. So wait, oh my God,
wait,
no
wait.
World War II, no Minecraft, no Roblox. Shout out World War II. Wait.
No.
Shout out World War II.
No.
Bad, but some of the byproducts have overall been good. Like, I also think, for instance, I think NASA would not be around without the war actually happening. So sometimes there can be good things. There can be silver linings in really bad things.
I'm sold, Jack. When you had me at Minecraft.
No, war is bad, but it does spur technological innovation.
So you're trying to say governments push war and they'll stage things to make you go into war because they know that the technological advancements will happen and nothing will advance if there's no war. So they always want war. So the 9/11 was... Wait, am I following what you're saying?
The moon isn't real.
Was that your point?
I'm just gonna stop talking.
Good point, Jack.
I tried.
The Americans were the first to figure out how to apply this to a bomb, and not without many scientists and researchers dying to make it happen. Little Boy, the code name for the first nuclear bomb to be used in war,
They should just call it an atom.
weighed over 9,000 pounds and was dropped over the Japanese city of Hiroshima on August 6th, 1945. Tens of thousands of civilians died in the initial explosion, and countless more died of radiation sickness afterwards. World War II officially ended less than a month later. No matter how impressive your tiny mustache is, you can't fight an enemy that can rain horrifying death upon you from the sky. Unless, of course, you can rain it right back on them. Countries around the world entered a nuclear arms race to create the biggest, most destructive bombs possible. It was quickly discovered that the process of nuclear fusion, as opposed to fission, was more effective. This is the same process that occurs in the cores of stars, constantly for billions of years, recreated for a fraction of a second on Earth. The most powerful explosive to ever be created by humanity was called the Tsar Bomba, created by the Soviet Union and tested on October 30th, 1961. The devastating death cloud created by this explosion was 67 kilometers high, or about as tall as 8 Mount Everests stacked on top of each other. The nuclear bomb in all its terrifying forms is, hopefully, the last weapon humanity will ever need. There is no defense against it besides the fear that your enemy will retaliate with its own bombs.
I can't believe that's
further
real.
Developments are really necessary. Perhaps with this...
Yeah, it looks like CGI. We literally went from 30,000 years ago poking other humans with pointy sticks to just in the last 500 years, we went from creating swords, and now we have the power of the sun at our disposal as a weapon.
I'm scared.
The only weapon that's going to be greater than that is AI. That's Dirt Boy's take. And if you guys agree, make sure to leave a like and check out this video right here.